Welcome back to the YESS podcast. Today I have Nadine Jürgensen with me.
Hi.
Welcome. Can you present yourself very briefly?
Yes, my name is Nadine Jürgensen. I'm one of the co-founders of elleXX. I'm a mom and a lawyer, and I'm very happy to be here.
Fantastic. You actually have so many different roles. You are a CEO, you're also a journalist, you are doing so many different things, also moderator. How do you keep a balance in your life? Like, do you have any life hacks you can share with our listeners?
Well, good question, and no, unfortunately not. Well, I might tell you one, but yes, to be honest, at times it gets a little bit too much. The past year has been really intense, and it's true that I'm a person that is not very good in saying no. So I'm still learning how to say more no and to focus more on things that really need to be done. But saying this, I do have a technique to juggle all of the things that daily life and all my tasks that come with it brings, and it's my efficiency planner. You can Google that. It's a company from the US, and they did a really good job implementing the tomato system, so working 25 minutes on a task and then making a quick break, and also scheduling and planning your task of the week as well as your daily planner. And this really helps me to prioritize on what I'm doing during the day. So I always have my first priority, which I'm doing first, which really helps not procrastinating, doing things that you are more likely to do and then you don't do the things you should be doing. So this really helps being very efficient, and I can really recommend it to people that have a lot of things at hand. And we also teach it to our employees. I always say that working techniques is very important. Also in a startup environment where we have a lot of tasks, small teams, and a lot of people are doing a lot of different things. But yeah, I think saying no is also great capacity, and there I think I can still learn some.
But these are some really great tips. And it actually seems like you discovered your passion very early in life. I know when you were just 11 years old, you already had your first TV show, you were a moderator of it or something like that. How did this come about? And how did you even think of this at that age?
You really did your research well.
I find everything, yeah.
Yeah, it's true. I did a TV show. It was called Kids, and I started doing it when I was 11. It was not my own show. We were 4 kids together doing this. It was a great opportunity because in very young age I was able to interview people like Justin Timberlake.
Oh wow.
Politicians, and it was very interesting. And it's true that back in these times my wish to be in front of the camera or work as a journalist really developed, and I like the creativity of talking to people. I think I'm a campaigner, I'm a marketeer in a sense, I'm a communicator, and so that's true that there I was already very early in life able to live one of my passions, which is communication, which is trying to getting things on point so that people will understand and entertain people. So yeah, it was a great opportunity, and I really have very good memories of this time.
Do you remember one guest in particular that stood out to you?
Yeah, so it was definitely Justin Timberlake, which was a world star back in the time. Mm-hmm. He was still at NSYNC, and I was not able to speak English yet, so someone was translating, yes. And I also met Martina Hingis. That was when she was 14 and I was a bit younger than she was, and we were actually driving on her Töffli, on her moped, without a helmet on my side, when I was interviewing her in her mother's house, so that was cool. And I was also in the parliament in Bern, and I was sitting on the chair of the highest person of Switzerland, which is the president of the National Assembly, and I was able to ring the clock. So I think
Wow.
there was also my interest in politics
Yeah.
a little bit awakened. But yeah, I met so many incredible people of Switzerland, and I was able to ask them questions very young, and became later in life a journalist. And now, yes, I think this was a great opportunity.
You must have had amazing confidence already at this age to go for this.
Back in the time, that was in the 90s, the media was not yet as it is today. It was very calm time. There was no social media. And the settings were always very intimate, like, like now the two of us,
Yeah.
it never felt like there was somebody really watching, because that was afterwards on TV. So, no, it was something that came to me very natural. I didn't even think,
Yeah.
what impact that would have outside of my life. And actually it didn't have. It was not a time, there's basically no pictures of the time or videos. I mean, you have to be really good to find them. So it was a very good time to try it out.
Yeah. So interesting. I was recently on the TV show The Perfect Dinner, so Mini Gochi Dini Gochi in Switzerland. And I was completely surprised because I'm on stage so much, and I do film for the podcast and other videos like that. And still for TV, I was nervous the first day, yeah, because it's still a big thing and still a lot of people watching. So I do admire you 11-year-old self a lot, yeah.
Yeah, of course. I mean, Patricia and I, we were shortly, a couple of weeks ago, we were also again at the Gesicht und Geschichten, and I would be lying that I was not nervous on a live show.
It's really good to know. That's comforting.
Yes.
You guys actually founded elleXX some time ago now, and you guys have just blown up. I mean, you're super known in Switzerland. You've brought out some really great products. Most latest is the app, and then also the book, Close the Gaps. What would you say was for you like the most difficult time with elleXX over the last couple of years, and how did you navigate as well through these challenges?
Yeah, you're right. I mean, building a business has some very beautiful, empowering, fulfilling moments. And then, of course, as always in life, there's the other side of everything. Yes, we have had moments that were difficult. I think one of it is that, yes, we have a lot of fans and we have a great community and we do a lot of impact. But there's also some people that don't like us, and they write negatively, or they don't. They really hope that we don't succeed. They want us to see fail, and they write about it. So at the beginning, for me, it was hard to be confronted with this kind of criticism, which was not. It was very subjective. You could feel that they didn't want women to be successful in the area of financial services. And so this was a time for me. I had to learn how to deal with it. But now we're more cool about it, I think.
What helped you like mentally be strong during that times and get through that?
I think Patricia has had more public exposure than I had until that time. As I said, as a child, I was not faced to mass media. And I think she does not care too much of what other people think of her, and in that way she also kind of led us a little bit through the process of just continuing doing it. And I think that was for me a good lesson, to just do what you do and not being retrieved by people that want you no good. And the other thing that as a growth startup, we're not bootstrapped, so we have investors. Was just that after we started, basically a couple of months later, the Ukraine war started, and a couple more wars going on the world, and economy went down. And I think it's already harder as a female-led startup to find investors for your ideas. But then the economic situation on top of it really made it even more challenging. And I think up until today, for women, and not only for us at elleXX, I think for every woman that wants to start their own business, or teams of women that want to start their businesses, they are facing much more cold winds, I would say. Also because the whole VC and investor scenery is dominated by men. And we know there are some biases that you invest in people that look alike your younger self.
Mm-hmm.
And if that person is a woman and you're a guy, you don't have that. You don't have that resemblance. And I think all the guys that have invested so far in elleXX, they have daughters, so they can relate on how it would be maybe for their daughters to run a business and looking for capital. And yeah, so I think these two things are more on the hard side, but as I don't want to only pronounce them, I think building elleXX has been an amazing journey, and I'm very grateful for all the things that it has taught me and all the great people that support us.
Mm. And you guys brought out actually a lot of very special financial products also for women. What products do you have at the moment? What can you also think about in the future? What else could come about?
Yeah, we started right at the beginning cooperating with financial players that are already on the market. So we have a 3 alpha solution with Bank, which goes really well. We have a legal protection with Allianz, which is basically an invention that I was very much involved because I'm a lawyer, and I have seen how many women were not legally well protected, especially when it comes down to divorce or work-related things. We have a stock market product where we try to be pioneers in building a general lens investing product. It's an active managed basket. It's a tracker certificate, and it's not so expensive to build it. If we would have 50 millions on our sites, I think we would have built an ETF. I think that's one for the future. We really would love to do a gender equality ETF. That you can later put also into pension products and so on. But that's something for the future. And right now, you mentioned the app and the book already. Right now, we are trying to develop our app in a way that we will be able, or that women will be able to directly invest throughout our app into ETF. And this is our next big thing we are working on. So I hope this is going to happen next year. We are right now working very hard on it.
Very good. You also have 2 children yourself. When I look at the financial market, I was looking at it for my godson as well, who was just born, and trying to see where we could invest for him. And there's no products really available for kids, or at least for parents to take care of for their kids. What do you think, how are you approaching the topic with your own kids, so they from a very young age learn about finances? And what kind of products do you think should be there for kids or their parents as well?
Yeah, this is such a great question, Luise, and it's right on point. I have to admit that I also wrote in my column once about it. I basically didn't pay our children money pocket until 1 year ago, because they had so much money from their grandparents. But then we were writing on our book about the pocket money gap, and it's true that girls from early age on get a lot less money than boys. And I felt so guilty. I was like, oh my god, you do all this financial literacy and then you're not living up to it. So I went to the bank, I picked up the cash and counted how much money they would get every week. My older daughter gets now every month her money, but she gets more, so she can learn more. The little one gets every week, always on Sunday. They have to sign that they got the cash, and then we talked about what they want to achieve with that money. So they save some part of it, some part goes for an investment. So they want to buy a horse, that's their long-time investment goal. And then they have some money they can just spend however what they want. And I also have an ETF saving plan for them, and I think as a parent, the best thing you can do is to open an account once they're born, and please just don't do a saving account. Do an investment account and pay regular money in there. So, because with investing, the most important factor is time. If you start investing when you were 0,
Yeah.
you have a time span of 80, 90 years that money can be invested. If you start with 1 year old or with your birth, and let's say you invest every month 1,000 francs, probably with 30 you're a millionaire.
Crazy, huh? Crazy. I only started in my late 20s, basically. That's when I learned about money. Yeah.
And this is what most people do. They start too late. So what I can say is, if you have children, get them an investment account, and try not to get one that is so expensive that costs you more than 2%. Get an ETF saving plan way below 1%, and then you put that money every time that child has a birthday, or you can even put like a regular payment depending on how much money you have, and then put it there. And I think that's a great investment for the future of any child.
Yeah.
But also, they of course need to understand what's happening on the bank. Why are we putting money there? And yeah, I think it can be very abstract for young children, and this is why I still pay them cash. I think the investment part I will discuss with my oldest one maybe now when she turns 12, 13, she understands. But the little one, she needs some cash,
I remember my brother's a very smart guy, and I remember I explained investment to so many people once I got started with it. And everybody's like, yeah, it's complicated. I'm like, it's not, you can explain it really quickly. And then I explained it to my brother, who was, age of your daughter probably at the time. And I explained it to him for like 30 seconds. He's like, perfect, I got it, let's get started. I'm like, oh, great.
Yeah, and it's really true. Like, so many girls and women are afraid of investing because they think there's so much risk involved. But actually, if you have a long-term saving goal and you have an investment plan that takes more than 10 years, it's quite safe, and it's very easy to do, and you don't even have to think about it anymore, And at elleXX, it's actually the thing we do. We teach women how to overcome their internal psychological obstacles to get started.
Yeah.
And once you have it running, it's a no-brainer, You do a Dauerauftrag, saving command.
It's super simple. Yeah.
And then it's done. But, until you do it, of course you need to, as an adult, maybe you need to do a budget, you need to know what your investigation quota is. You need to know how much spare money you have that you won't need for the next 10 years. Of course you need to do that, but that's basically the work. And then you need to decide which provider you want to choose. And that's it,
But even for that, there's so many articles that are very clear on what are the best providers as well.
Yeah. So I think it's not a magic thing to do, but it does magic in the end. I think we should all profit from the compound interest effect. That means every time your investment made a profit, you reinvest that money, and the curve goes really strongly up. Even if you face crises, for instance, like the financial crisis, or the market went down with COVID, if you invest over time and you invest every month, you get interest rates over time that are just crazy. And I think everyone should know about this.
I have some rapid fire questions for you, which I would like to ask you. You have a few seconds to respond to each of them. So let's go. What's your favorite book that you've read recently?
Benedict Wells, Heartland.
I have to check that out. One word to describe your leadership style.
Learning.
And what is your guilty pleasure?
Staying up too late.
I agree with that one. If you could have dinner with one person in the world, dead or alive, who would it be?
Hey, I would like to meet Justin Timberlake again, just for the sake of it.
Again, I love it. And what's the best advice you've ever received?
You always need to have your own money.
Good one. And if you had to delete all but 3 apps on your phone, so you only keep 3 apps, which ones would they be?
Of course, I would keep the elleXX app. I would keep the Photos app and Spotify.
Good choice for sure, for sure. Okay, you succeeded really well at the rapid fire. I got curious last year. You actually ran for a seat at the National Council. And what made you do that? So going into politics, big step. How did this happen? And how was the process for you? Like also the election process, yeah.
Yeah, this was one of the things where life just drags me at some points where I was not thinking myself of going. My friend Andri, we are Silberschmidt, we are together in a jury, and we were having a conversation, and I just told him that I recently joined the party in my community because they kept asking me for years if I would join the party, and since I was not working as a journalist before and like anymore, I was like, okay, I can do it, but I just get involved in the community. I want just to give something back, you know. It was just more of a sense. And since my party is the strongest party in the community and I know so many people there, it was for me clear to go with that party just because I have a lot of personal relations to them. And when Andre heard that I joined the party, he said, well, now you need to run for parliament. And I was like, yeah, of course I'll do it. And, you know, it was like in the morning at 2 o'clock. And the next day at 8, he wrote me an email and he took it serious. And he wrote to the guy that makes the whole processes. And so I was in it already. And I mean, I was a complete rookie. They put me on place 26, but I moved up 8 places. So I got a lot of votes. And I did it because I was always saying there's not enough women in politics. And then, you know, once you get asked and then you say, nah, you know, I'm not gonna do it. I think I just couldn't play that card. I felt like I was just like, all right, get out there, expose yourself. And throughout the process, I must say that my respect for politicians grew a lot. There's so much unpaid work. There's so many evenings that you go out and don't see your family. There's so many people that come up to you and tell you their opinion and, you know, tell you things that you have absolutely no power and impact on doing it within the party or within the political system. So people that do politics are not allowed, they don't receive a lot of love. They do a lot of work. They spend a lot of money on their own, for instance, for the campaign, you know.
Yeah, you said 10,000 something.
Yeah, so I spent 10,000 francs. I received 5,000 in donorship, and the other 5,000 I paid myself. It's a lot of money that I put in there. And I knew already I was not going to be elected, you know. But you know, I think it was a really good experience, and you know, who knows what happens next. I'm not, you know, a political career you cannot plan, it's impossible, but you just need to be open and say yes and not too many no's. So let's see how that works with my goal to say not as much yes anymore.
Yeah.
But well, it's Yes podcast, so maybe it's a good sign.
Absolutely. Let's get into quite a personal topic. I've read an article from you and I also heard it on one of the podcast episodes about the traumatic experiences during your birth process, basically. And it's a topic that's not addressed much yet in general discourse and something that comes up a lot lately, especially, and very important to address as well. Can you share more about the experience and especially about the part of like not feeling heard as well and receiving medication without consent? Because I think it was quite an influential story that you shared there.
Yeah, I'm glad. Thank you for asking this question. I'm not being asked this a lot because I think it's still a huge taboo. And it took me more than 8 years to write about it publicly in my column first, and then I also went broader public. And I'm doing this not because I want to be pitied or anything like that. You know, I had to work through it myself, and it was a hard way. But now what I really aim for is that this kind of birth should not happen to a lot more other women. You know, I really want this birth system to be changed. And I think the biggest problem is that in our system, the needs and the wishes and what the women want is not being taken granted, and often not being listened to. And there are studies about this. You know, they have done a research on 6,000 women, and you know, there's more than 25% that have experienced traumatizing experiences. So I'm not the only one. There's a lot of women that experience the same thing. It's every fourth woman that experiences traumatizing birth moments. And it has an effect also afterwards. You know, with my first child, I actually went into post-traumatic depression, which is very hard on the family, which is very hard on the child, which is very hard on the woman. And also about that was no public information at the time it happened to me, very little information to find, and I'm a journalist, so I know how to research. It was not enough information, and people didn't know about it also, like the midwife that came to my house was not taking care of me either. What happened was that I was a ballet dancer, so I had many hours, 36 hours of labor, and it took just a long time. And in the hospital, you know, once you start getting into the labor room, basically, and I've talked to midwives, I know it's true, you have a certain time that you can be in there, and then you have to make place for the women that are waiting outside, you know. So at some point, and also midwives change, you know, they have their cycles, so women don't get the time they need. Women don't get one-to-ones, so there are midwives that have sometimes 2 or 3 births at the same time. So you're often let alone, and if it's your first child and you're very tired, you haven't slept for 2 nights, you know, I didn't have a doula, I didn't know about the concept of a doula, it was my husband and I was not experienced, and at some point, you know, before my daughter was born, they gave me something that the birth would become more rapid. And, you know, after 36 of labor and everything went very slow, the child was born after that within 6 minutes and 11 pushes. So it felt like, you know, God's hand basically pushed that child through me. It was so strong, because also I react very strong on medicaments, and it was way too high dosed. And the worst part about it was that they didn't ask me if they could do it. They just did it because I had to get out of the room, you know. And of course they always say, you know, the heart sound of the baby wasn't good anymore. That's the best thing to make women do anything, you know. But that moment was just so shocking, you know, because I wasn't prepared for what happened, and I got also hurt very much in that procedure. The midwives and everyone was not ready for the baby to come out so quickly. They were also surprised that this power of this medicament was so strong, and it took them 4 hours to sew me back. And you know, if they would just have asked me, I would have said, no, I don't want this. And so, you know, when you're in that process of birth, you cannot run, you cannot hide, you cannot fight. You're just there, and you have to accept what's happening with you. So you're completely there without any protection, some sort, you know what I mean, that feeling. And in that moment, you know, something inside me made like a click, you know, and it was just not being in power of my own body and my own decisions. And that's, I think, was for me my personal moment. I know women have so many different moments. It's so individual, it's so personal, but what's the same for all of us women that have experienced trauma was that they have not been listening to what they wanted, and it has been decided over their heads. And I understand on a medical basis, that some decisions have to be done to save the mom's life. I'm not talking about this, but I have asked afterwards for the report, and the heart sound of my baby were fine. There was no need to do this, And yeah, it took me so many years and months to overcome this. And unfortunately, the second birth was not much better. I didn't have any psychological effect of it. I was very strong in my mind, but I got hurt with the PDA, they hurt me, and I was not able to get up for 7 weeks. So I think I didn't have obviously a third child, but I think I would have decided for a home birth or a doula or some sort of setting where I would have a more personal approach, and where I would have had the time and the calmness and the lights and the sounds where I would feel more at ease. Because also in the hospital, you're very exposed. There's neon lights, there's people coming in and forth, there's shouting, it's hectic. And imagine having sex in front of a lot of people, neon lights and loud sounds. I mean, I don't think you get into the mood. So every animal that gives birth, get somewhere in a cozy place. And for me, a hospital probably is also not the right place, but that's also very individual. I think it's great that we have medicine. That hospital, my daughter got born, actually my ex scout teacher, she's now running the place. She was there when I was there. And she installed now midwifery, where they help the women to get the children without medical help. But they're on the campus of the hospital, so if there is a medical urgency, they are there within 2 minutes. And I think that's a great setting, and I'm so happy things are changing.
Yeah.
And I know also, and I always say that, I don't think there has been a single person involved in any of these births that wanted to do anything bad. It's also due to a system that gets paid the more intervention you do, a intervention less natural birth gives the hospital around 1,000 francs. The birth of my second child was about 40,000 francs. So, the system profits if a birth has more interventions.
Thank you so much for sharing about everything, because I know there's a lot of women that are listening to this as well that have had very bad stories and that can relate to this. And I've heard many things from acquaintances and friends as well. So it's such an important topic to address and also to change in the future. Yeah.
Yes, and I really want to empower these women. Go get yourself help if you're still struggling. There's people that can help you. And yeah, I really also want to encourage all the women that still want to give birth. Get yourself a doula or a trustworthy person that has given birth before, that knows the hospital system, that can be there for you, that is your lawyer, that helps you throughout this. It doesn't have to be, there's so many women that have beautiful births in the hospital and everything goes well, but there is a chance of 25% that your story can be like mine, and I really hope that this number goes down.
Hey Nadine, thank you so much for being with us today, with me today. And I'm looking forward to the next steps that are coming from this, and wishing you all the best for these next steps as well.
Thank you so much.